by the Metadime Network, the Metadime Digital Network. I'm really excited today. Today, I'm so excited. We have Chris Salem on, and we are going to rock your world. So let's begin this show right now in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Chris, welcome to the show. I'm so excited that you're here today.
It is such a pleasure. I've been looking forward to today. So I'm looking forward to have the conversation with you and share some wisdom and insight to help your audience.
Thank you. I want to tell you, if you're new here, we go live Monday through Friday. We share tips, tools, techniques, and inspiration, motivation, and those things that create thrivability in your life. If you're new here, put your name down here. We want to meet you and know you and say hi to you and everything else. I see you guys coming on board right now. Those of you who have been watching this show forever and ever and ever, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks, Karen, for being here with us. We are going to start seeing you pop on. Do me a favor, just above you, you're going to see a link that says StreamYard. If you click that link and push the blue button, it'll allow me to see your name. It'll allow me to see it like this. Scott, welcome aboard. Each Wednesday is a feast. And today I want to tell you, I'm so excited. I want to tell you about Chris before we get started. He is a best-selling author. He is a consultant. He's a coach. He's got a radio show on Voice of America. This guy is so successful. He's written, co-authored a book with Jack Canfield. He's done so many things, but I want to tell you what I like about him, what I think is so incredible about him. He is somebody that helps people create new attention and intention by mastering their mind, by mastering how they think, by getting rid of that little tiny voice inside of you that is niggling at you going, you can't do that. You're not this. We call that the inner critic. And that inner critic piece of you right now, that inner critic can stop you because sometimes it's almost so subtle you can't even see it, or you don't notice it, or you right away believe what it says. And today we are going to be talking about how to move your inner critic out of the way and bring in your discernment and light. And Chris, tell me the name of your book again. We got a new book out.
It's a long title, but it's been out for a little while. The name of the book is called Master Your Inner Critic, Resolve the Root Cause, Create Prosperity. So Master Your Inner Critic, Resolve the Root Cause, Create Prosperity. It's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
And I got to tell you, when I hear that name, Chris, the first thing that came to my mind was show me the money. Because I was like, how do you create abundance? How do you create prosperity in your life when you have this niggling voice at the back of your head? Let's talk first about, let's just talk about what the inner critic is first for those of you people. And I see everybody coming on. Thank you so much for being here. Good morning, Chris. So cool you're here. I love your memes and images, insightful, thought-provoking, motivating, and profound. Yes. I love this. Hi, Vickie and Chris from Ryan. Thank you, guys. Look at this. Today must be filet mignon day. That's right. I like this. Happy birthday, Vickie Helm, and welcome, Chris Salem. I want to tell you something. Chris's birthday is in this month, too. His birthday is July 6th. So it's the birthday month guest today. Thank you. Here is Chris's book already put up. So you guys can go buy a copy there. But first, I just want him to tell us about the inner critic and what that is.
So what the inner critic is again, it is in essence like that voice inside that tells you that you're not enough or you're not capable, or again, that really has a control over your emotions and also your level of self-esteem and confidence. And where that inner critic develops over time is from your childhood. It's through your development when you're developing as a child, from a mindset perspective in your home. So it doesn't mean that you had to come from a traumatic childhood. You could have wonderful parents, but nonetheless, certain things happen that can become what we call a limited belief. And that limited belief, as it's cultivated throughout your childhood, through your teen years, when you become an adult, will now become that limited belief that will have an impact not only on your emotions, but it'll have an impact maybe on how you look at money, how you take risks or not take risks, how you make decisions or do not make decisions, how you interact with yourself and other people. and so on and so on. It controls so many aspects of your life subconsciously. So again, this isn't conscious, it's subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we're only aware that we're not where we want to be. And when we're not where we want to be, that's what's going on. To think of the inner critic, it's kind of like it's below the surface. You can't
Yes.
actually see it like an iceberg, above the waterline. It's below the surface.
It's so subtle. It's so subtle that you don't even notice it. And it can run your whole life. It can run so much. It's like that. It's interesting because we think a lot of times that we think reasonably or we think critically. And as long as we have this piece of us in the back, it chips away at our possibilities and opportunities and our potential. Yes, our potential that we could be. So let me ask you, Chris, as we delve into this, because this is like one of my favorite topics, because there's this thing that says where energy flows, attention goes. And what happens then when you're not aware of this attention and your energy is flowing to it anyway? If you're not consciously, you're subconsciously aware of this, but not consciously. Like you don't think you're doing this, and you're thinking to yourself, "What's wrong with me? Why can't I hit my goals? What is it that you would say to them, to somebody starting with that inner critic thing, if we're looking at it?"
Well, first of all, I want to address what you said about the energy, and then I'm going to talk about what people can do. So, like, think about energy. Energy is a vibration; it's a frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, when you're operating from the inner critic, the emotions that you're experiencing most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, that create the triggers in your life to reinforce certain things that you lack or don't have or are not capable of, is those negative emotions like anger, shame, guilt, jealousy, envy, or any combination thereof. Yeah. Those types of emotions are low vibrational energies. They're very easy to gravitate to. It doesn't take a lot more to fall into those types of energies. And limited beliefs not only attach themselves to those emotions, but they manage those emotions. So the key is that when you are not where you want to be, okay, and you're not sure why, and you're angry, maybe you have guilt or shame, the first step is just to be aware. To be aware that you're not where you want to be first. Then it's to accept where you are. Doesn't mean you're accepting this is the way your life is going to be for the rest of your life, but you're accepting where you are, and you're making a commitment blindly, with blind faith, whatever you want to say, that you're going to get to the root cause of why you are where you are. And you might be scratching your head going, well, I don't know why. And here's the thing about limited beliefs. They love to trick people to want them to control things that they can't control. This is why we struggle. This is why we get frustrated. This is why we act out, emotionally in a negative way, is because we're always caught up in the things that we can't control versus the things that we can control. So limited beliefs play a big part in there. So when you make a commitment to say that I'm going to get to the root cause of limited beliefs, doesn't mean you have to know, like, well, how do I go about doing that? You don't have to know at that point. It's just knowing that you're going to make a commitment, and then you're going to figure out a process to do that. Now, I have a process, and I'm happy to share that. And then the next step would be, when you are going through that process to get to the root cause of those limited beliefs, this takes time. This doesn't happen in a day.
It takes time.
It could take 2
years. It's the work. It's the work. It's
a process.
Yeah.
But when you do that, you can reach a level where you can forgive, and not only forgive the source, which is often a parent. It could be a father, mother, step parent, or it could be an authoritative figure in your life that played a major role in your development. But it's also not only to forgive the source, but to forgive yourself, because if you're doing that, you're not truly releasing. It's like having, like, if somebody had cancer and they have surgery and they remove the cancer and they're cancer free. But then all of a sudden, a year later, the cancer comes back. Well, that's because they didn't get to the root cause. The cancer was always still there. It got triggered again. This is what limited beliefs do. You can manage them. I call it managing the problem. But a sustainable solution to live a vibrant life of work-life harmony is to get to the root cause. And all of us have what it takes to go within to do that. You just have to know what the process is and commit to it. knowing that no one can do it for you, no pill, no product out of a box.
That's
no
right.
waving a magic wand for you. Only you can do it from within. All of us have the power to not only, create the problem, but to also, resolve the problem and create the solution. And that is what this process is: awareness, acceptance, forgiveness. And then between the acceptance and the forgiveness is what I call this process of resolving the root cause of limited beliefs.
Yes, this is so amazing, and it's so empowering. I want to say this first. The other day, I woke up feeling unmotivated. I gave myself permission to be where I was at that day versus fighting it. I like that. That's acknowledging it. You said a couple of things, and I thought to myself, I hear this all the time, but I want some clarity about this. And the other thing you said, this is what I'm happy to share the way I do it. And thank you for doing this. The first process piece that you said was awareness. And I thought, yes, awareness. How do we build awareness, and what exactly is it? Because that is a conversation. Everybody says you have to be and build awareness. And the number one thing is meditate. That'll be awareness. But what I have found is that some of the things awareness provides is that you have to catch yourself. You got to be caught, not taught. How do we develop the awareness to catch ourselves, even to be able to transform this, to be able to move this? Do you understand what I'm saying? How do we build the awareness of that? How do you build awareness?
So the key is you just got to come to a place. I mean, this is what addicts will, know very, very well, or alcoholics when they hit rock bottom, right? So when you hit rock bottom, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
That's right.
Surrender. And when you come to that surrender state, or you make yourself vulnerable and open yourself up to be mentored or coached, not in a way that somebody's telling you how, when, or why to do it, but open to information that will empower you to draw your own conclusion, whether if that resonates for you to move forward or not, and to own that on what, how you see it to work for you. So you have to be open-minded. You have to be ready. You have to make a commitment. If you're coming into it with 1 foot out, 1 foot in, not going to work. You're going to manage the problem which most people do in their lifetimes. But to truly, really get to the root cause and really commit to this process, you got to get to a point where you are completely open. You are vulnerable. So when we talk about vulnerability, especially for men view vulnerability as a weakness.
Yes.
Vulnerability is a strength, because we cannot heal and we cannot strengthen our emotions and our resilience and our courage and our confidence and self-esteem if we don't break ourselves down to be vulnerable. We have to break down to build up. It's like with anything. So in this case, you have to be vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, you're now opening up the subconscious mindset through a process, which you alluded to, Vickie, with meditation and journaling. I used it as a two-prong approach. When you can get consistent with meditation and journaling, preferably early in the morning, very early, where there's no distractions, over time, when you get into a pattern of being present and learning how to be present and learning to let go of the thoughts that were controlling you, to learn to not be in the past and the future.
Yes.
Where when we get still, the subconscious mindset begins to open and kind of reveal its secrets to the conscious mindset. So now we can actually intellectually can now understand it. And when we're journaling, sometimes when we're journaling, we're not even sure what we're writing down. It may not even make any sense at first, because that's how the subconscious mindset works. But nonetheless, in time, you'll be able to see it like a third party would looking at it and go, oh my God, now I'm getting it. So now this helps to navigate where the root cause to your limited beliefs are. Again, oftentimes it's apparent. For me, it was my father. My father, again, was really not really emotionally available when I was growing up, and as a boy, I guess I was seeking that direction, that validation, and I didn't get it from my father. And as a result, I grew up a very angry young, teenager, young man, acted out. My behavior, was inappropriate at times. I engaged in very addictive behaviors to escape and medicate. So again, I was codependent. I became codependent as a result of my limited beliefs. I had this addiction and need to be validated that I could never get. Nobody could ever fill it. So when people used to say, "Well, Chris, you were an addict, right?" Yeah, yes, I struggled with alcohol, drugs, and sexual addiction, but that was not my addiction. They were just mechanisms to escape
Yes.
pain and the anger.
Yes.
The real addiction was the need for validation. And that was the thing. It's the same thing if a woman feels shame and guilt, and maybe she was sexually abused as a child. It could be that abandonment, that I felt, abandoned and violated. And that's how they carry that into their adult life. So it has a similar type of attachment. And again, it's that validation. And they end up seeking out, again, people in a codependent way to please them, to only be disappointed and repeat those patterns over and over again. So these are things, again, you don't have to have a traumatic background.
That's right.
It's very subtle, but these limited beliefs, if not addressed, will limit you in your potential and capability in your career, your business, your relationships, and taking care of your overall well-being.
This is such an empowering conversation, because I think anybody who achieves some real success in their life, anybody, the only way out is through. And you have to go through this ability, retrain your abilities. It doesn't matter how much you earn or make if you can't be happy with who you are or who you're becoming. And there's a couple of things that I truly believe, and I truly believe this probably because I've done it for myself. I am very aware of what you're talking about, and it's so empowering, because this aspect of you, the curiosity piece for me was, don't you want to know who you really are? Not the stories you've been told, but aren't you even curious about who you actually are and what you're capable of? And wouldn't you like to know who you are before you die? If you hit that grave and you're like, hi, I'm all the stories everybody told me I was, and that's how I lived, that piece of potential, not knowing who you are. And so what happens for me is that I practice more contemplation, because when I practice meditation, I want my mind to shut up. I just want to be in awareness. So when I say, what is awareness for me? Awareness isn't my mind thinking. Awareness is a different aspect of me. It's my soul of me. And that soul of me is the person who should be in command of what my mind says. So my mind then must be squishing my soul down somewhere if I'm living from my mind. And if the soul of me comes up, that's the person you actually get to meet. And in between meeting you as you are and how you think is that inner critic, is that thing. That's like the cutoff point, the lies, the beliefs, the everything. Your potential isn't in your thinking. Your potential is in your soul. Yeah. So if your potential is in your soul and the inner critic is piping off of it, let's say you're in that sales call and you can hear that inner critic say, well, I'm wondering if you can even close that call, or you're not good enough to. What do you do? Like, what are 3 things you can do immediately when you recognize that little story, that little voice that is not allowing your potential to come through? What is it that you say to it? How can you put yourself back at center? Just how do you do that?
It's, it sounds easy, and in essence it can be, but it takes a little practice. It's just that when you hear that little voice, again, when you're going through this process, it's just to take not that you take a deep breath in front of somebody, they'd be going, what is he doing or is she doing? But it's just to kind of pause and just take a breath, just let the thought that came in go, come back to the center, and just, say an empowering belief to yourself. That is opposite of what was said. Okay?
Yes.
Now, in that situation that you just talked about, a sale, I've seen so much, because I spent 25 years in sales. I used to coach and train, sales professionals in this area, with peak performance mindset. I've seen people where they had a sale, didn't even know it, and then ended up talking their way out of the sale because they kept talking. And
yes.
In those cases, it's better to not talk, ask another question, and empower that person to speak and have them draw their own conclusion. Now they're more likely, you're able to get them back on track to where they are, where they say, yes, let's move forward with this deal, or I'd like some more information. And now you've moved it to the next step, getting closer to the sale. But if you kept talking because you're nervous, you're not sure of yourself, and you keep talking, you're just going to talk your way right out of the sale in that case.
That's such a fundamental thing that when we get nervous, we talk. So the sense of nervousness comes up. You just nail it right then. Take a deep breath. Realize that the inner critic is in charge and kind of move it out of the way and just center yourself and just.
I call it inner critic. You're moving from the inner critic to the inner champion.
Ooh, say more about that. I love that already. Oh God, that's it.
Just like they say, you have that you got the devil on one shoulder, you got Jesus or God on the other. Again, you look at it as negative and positive, and again, you can shift, and you have control to manage your emotions when you have the ability to get to the root cause of limited beliefs and shift from what I call a fixed to a growth mindset. When you're able to operate consistently in a growth mindset, stepping out of your comfort zone, not afraid to take certain risks or make mistakes, and to trust the process, learning to be present. Too many people are tied, and this is where limited beliefs love this too. Too many people are tied to expectations, which are attached to outcomes. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a goal you want to reach, an outcome you want to reach, but if you get fixated on the outcome, it now attaches itself to an expectation. That immediately is going to take you into the past and the future where you thrive. We experience it through fear. Then you get some anxiety. Then that anxiety triggers cortisol in the body, raises inflammation. You get anxious, and then you end up procrastinating. But when we can become centered, when we have more clarity, and in that clarity we can become more decisive, and in that decisiveness we can follow through with action. We have the ability now to know that we can be operating from the inner champion, and that we can manage our emotions. We can shift from anger to this. I know I was angry 24/7 for the first 30 years of my life. And then if something were to trigger a little thing of anger, it would hit me for maybe 2 seconds, and then it goes away.
Yep.
Before that was not the case.
I have this practice where I grew up in a house where the languaging in the house was always very negative, very dark. And when you're growing up in it, you don't know that you learn to speak in this negative languaging. So, everything's going to go wrong today, or blah, blah, blah. You hear that. And I remember just that, thinking about most people live in the past or the future. They don't live in the present moment. Why? Because we're operating from that inner critic that is telling us the past is this, so the future is this. And you look at it, I always tell myself every day, I don't care, in the moment, I have this word I use. I say story. So when that voice comes in my head, story, it's not real, brings me right back to the moment. Oh. Story. You have to realize the difference between what you're saying and the story. The story, there's more story than there is. If you look at the real sense of awareness, it's pretty quiet. It doesn't have a lot to say. No. So if there's a lot of chatter going on in your mind right now, there's a lot of chatter. A lot of it's probably inner critic going me all the time.
Run from the past. Way back into your childhood, right into the future. The thing about the future is it doesn't recognize time. So if you've already said that you can't do it in the future, then it says, okay, you can't do it. You can't do it. You've already convinced your mindset at that point you can't do it, and that's what will happen. So this is where we got to learn how to be consistent, being in the moment, and embracing a process. The results that you seek, whatever's important to you, are a byproduct of the process. What you do in the moment.
Yes.
The future is created right now. What you're doing right now. Don't put yourself into tomorrow or what happened yesterday or next week or next month. Just all you have to look at is right now where you are. That's all you have to worry about.
That's it.
Let go of what you don't know or what you can't control. That's where the magic is. When we learn to let go of the things we can't control or don't know, that's where things come together. You ever notice, like, all of a sudden, like something, some piece of information, some intelligence, something happens that we didn't know that comes, and it goes, oh, wow, I can connect that puzzle piece to what I already know. I can connect the puzzle.
Beautiful.
Well, we normally trust that. We're trying to get that puzzle piece and to control it. That's the inner critic, taking power.
It is. You know, when you say it like this, it sounds funny. When you're in it, not so funny. You're wrapped up in it.
Puzzle pieces, because people can visualize and relate to what that is. So.
You know, it's interesting because I like this statement, and I want to say a little bit about this. When you're upset, your intelligence goes down. I think your resourcefulness goes down. I think you don't lose intelligence. You may say something stupid, but you don't become stupid. But it's like when you're ruled by your inner critic, it's that your potential goes down, your opportunities go down because you can't see it.
Well, there, you just made a great point right there. See, opportunities are all around all of us. But
all the time.
Operating with limited beliefs, it's like we have blinders.
Yeah.
They're there. You just don't see it because you're not in the moment. You're only looking for something that you want to manipulate and control that you can't, to make it happen. That's the outcome tied to the expectation. Instead of letting it be and controlling what you can. When you learn to be in the moment, and then you can be decisive, all of a sudden you begin to see. It's like you have eyes in the back of your head and on either side of your, like on top of your ears, and you can see now 360 degrees. There's an opportunity. And it's not that it's blatant, like, hey, this is an opportunity. You got to kind of read in between the lines. But nonetheless, you'll see them, and you can create your own luck and create opportunities to grow.
Yes.
Even through a challenging time. Even sometimes challenging times are the best situations to take 10 steps backwards to go 20 steps forward.
You know, this is the perfect opportunity, and I want to talk about this right now because you hit the nail on the head so hard right now. I want to tell you, I have built 12 companies, and in the time that I built 12 companies, I flipped them, sold them, did the whole thing with them. But I've never been through a time like there is right now. Never, never, never. And the difference is I am a futurist at a strategist and a futurist. And as I look at my company right now and I look at it where it's going, it's the first time I don't know where to put my foot because there's so many uncertainties. There's so many unknowns. You have to be fully present. And what ends up happening to me, and I'm very fortunate. I have a really good team, and I've given them permission to call me out. And I get to the point where the first thing my inner critic says is, I don't want to let anybody down. I don't want to let anybody down. I got to lead us through this particular thing. And they're like, no, it's not you. It's we that leads us through it. So, you get that inner critic coming down. The feeling of being able to stay present in the unknown without expectation and without beating yourself up for not knowing what to do. That's the point where I am right now. And I have some really good people. It's like, you're doing fine. We all know this is crazy. But the thing that is interesting is that we've been able to pivot in a moment's notice only because of the lack of attachment to outcome. It's not, if you're a business, if you say, I'm this and this is what I do, you're limiting yourself. You are doing this in the moment. And what he said about letting go of expectations, I got to tell you, it has been hard for me to do that. I've had to really work at this point because the whole point of having a business is that there's expectations after goals. And now you have to drop those and be present. And that's where the success is. That's where the practice is. That's where the glory is. What you just said was, you don't understand how profound what you just said was to the whole world. And that's the key to success right now.
It's trusting the process. And it's not easy because we are conditioned as human beings to control things.
Yes.
Control. life, there's nothing certain in life, and there never will be until we really understand that. But yet, what's miraculous is that when you look back at past situations, and you said to yourself, "Oh my God, I'm never going to get through this," and now you look back, well, I got through it. Well, why did I have to put myself through all that aggravation and stress and worry? And then we do it again when something else happens.
Yeah,
So,
because we don't realize how easy it was to build a business before. Like, I built a business, you think, oh, I'm so successful. I'm so successful. Well, the economy is skyrocketing. Credit's really easy. People are spending like mad. And now it's when your leadership is going to meet that inner critic, because you're like, where's that fast customer? Where's that fast this? Where's all these things that are in place? It's like what you just, God, Chris, this is such a brilliant conversation. I want to let you know that I have to stop for a second and pay attention. It's on fire over here. People are talking.
oh, great. I can only see a couple of things pop up, but if anybody has questions, I'm absolutely be happy to do that.
Yes, and this is the point that he made right here. The anger appears as the expectation is not met.
Oh, yeah.
That's when it triggers you. I want what I want, and I want it now.
30 years of my life.
Yeah, this is, look, this is here. Conversational intelligence helped me learn a different language. Yes, it is. We are learning that. So Anna says, most of our limiting beliefs are not true at all. Isn't that like 60,000 thoughts a day? I think it is, or something like that, Chris. And most of them aren't even real at all.
And a lot of times, this is could be another discussion, is that a lot of times people go, because of limited beliefs, end up adopting either their parents, or it could be people that influence them, other people's values. It's not even their own values.
Yeah.
And values are really important, especially if you're true to your values and you're really true to yourself and genuine, transparent, authentic. When you're operating in the solution, you can then begin to attract people that have similar values, that they trust you. They want to work with you on something they're going to buy from you automatically. But if they knew that somebody could use your services, they're more likely to be thinking about you, because of not what you do. It's why you do what you do. It's those values that they connect on subconsciously first, before what you can do for them.
Do you even hear this? So magic.
Trick, or I wouldn't say a trick, but a marketing, if you want to call it a nugget, that could really change your business. And when you can learn to master that, you can really grow your business sustainably by connecting with people on similar values, using information that's compelling to them. But when you can operate from the inner champion, you're more likely to be in tune with your own true core values, how that relates to your business, your audience, or company you work for. And then when you can find some type of alignment, that now you have a recipe to be more successful, even through tough times. And I'm not going to say things are going to always be easy, or you're not going to have bad times, but your attitude is going to be different. You're going to approach it in a positive way. It's part of the process, knowing that in the long run, you'll look back and you could say that, as Jim Rohn used to say, success is not, it's what you become in the process.
That's right.
That's what you're going to look back on, and you're going to have no regrets when you leave this world.
Love Jim Rohn, love him. There's two things you said here that really have caught my eye. One is that we know there's an inner critic.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we know is that there's an inner champion. The inner champion is that's your two choices. You get to pick whether you want to be led by the inner critic or the inner champion. I want to know a little bit more about the inner champion aspect of the self, and how we plug into the inner champion instead of plugging into that inner critic. And I know one is awareness. We got that. But then how do we bring out, get to know, and really trust or rely on our inner champion?
Well, when we go through the process of resolving the root cause of the limited beliefs, this doesn't mean you stop meditating and journaling. Meditation and journaling should become part of your daily routine, or part of your success foundation. I've been meditating and journaling now for 21 years. I've never missed a day.
Wow.
So it's the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning at 4:15 is I make my bed, except for my wife's side. And then sometimes I've covered her up and like, you can sleep through anything. But with that being said, it's the consistency. When you do that, you get to a place with that clarity that you begin to see that these things that you thought you needed, like the need for validation, are not valid anymore.
Yes.
Validated. You don't even have to validate yourself, that you can just be. If you choose that you want to sit and be all day and do nothing, then you can do that. But of course, you got to make a living. But nonetheless, it's learning to really, just trust yourself and trust, the process outside of you. And as long as you're coming up and doing your best, not being the best, it's being your best, to show up to be better each day and letting go of what you can't control. That is going to help raise your level of confidence and self-esteem. That's going to help you incorporate other habits that will serve you, like reading and maybe working out, things that will take care of your well-being to make you more sustainable in your success. And when we can do this, we have the ability now to be more in control of our emotions from the inner champion side. The thing is, we always can either be in control or let the inner critic be in control. We have a choice. We can either control it or let it control us. That's
God, I just hear that. I just hear that book too. Inner critic to inner champion. The transformation of human potential. Yeah. I look at that and I think, oh my gosh, that's just what he gave you. Yeah. Transforming from inner critic to inner champion and accessing that human potential, that human touch. I see you guys over here. I'm going to pop up and just go give a few of these to him. You lose access to your ability to ration when you're angry. So your intellectual faculties are impaired. Yes, it's hard to work when you do that. I love this. Wow, that sounds insane, doesn't it? But yes, it is. I love this right here. I cannot post. I'm listening. Thank you very much. Thank you. There's nothing certain in life and never will be. Chris Salem. Yes. And that's it. That's what's beautiful about being present in the moment and really being alive. You feel actively alive when you live in that moment. Tapping helps my limiting beliefs. Never did I think I would tap. I actually tap too. Awareness. I love tapping.
Awareness. It's a thing to shift the thing. Okay, I got to change my thought. Take a breath. Powering belief over limited belief.
Yes. You know what's interesting? I have to say that when I like to mountain bike ride, that is my passion. And when I'm out on the bike, no matter what, if I'm going up an arduous hill, and for me, an arduous hill is like a 3% grade. It's not very arduous, but I'm working it and I go up there. What happens for me is as I'm riding, when I look up, I can feel overwhelmed at the amount of up I have to do. But when I bring my head down and I start saying my mantras for the day, I'm in it. I just look, Jack Canfield's hill goes through my head. That 200 feet above, that's all you need to see, blah, 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 and just keep going. And pretty soon I'm at the top of the mountain. But the reason I chant, the reason I do the mantra thing is, for me, that's part of the transformation into that inner champion. Yeah. And I like what you said before, and I think this is really important. I want to go over this. So important. Chris said earlier that we do one thing at a time. We change one thing at a time. We don't do it all at once. No. And I think that's so important, because people make goals and they're like, I'm going to lose weight and become a CEO and get on Forbes magazine and make $1 million. Pick one thing at a time and get good at that. So,
multitasking is a short-term thing. It really, in the long run, is not a sustainable model to be productive or be successful.
So today I want to look at it, and we talked about building awareness. We talked about noticing, kind of building that observer inside ourselves and being able then to get to the point where you know that there is an inner genius in you, an inner champion in you, and that there's somebody else for you to meet other than that squawky little voice inside your head. And that when that squawky voice comes up, we can go ahead and center ourselves, and we realize that this is going to, help us ground again and be where we want to be. The next thing is, let's say you make some goals for yourself. Maybe, I don't care, whatever goal it is for yourself. And that First part of it seems overwhelming. Like for me, Chris, the thing that came to mind was quitting smoking. That's a pretty good quitting smoking. And I'm not kidding when I say this. I probably tried 200 times to quit smoking and failed before I overcame it. And on the way, every time I went back to smoking, I reinforced that inner critic in me that's like, you suck, you can't do anything, you can't even quit smoking, what kind of person are you, blah, blah, blah. What happens when you catch yourself reinforcing that inner critic? What can you do to like forgive yourself, so to speak, like you said earlier?
Well, again, it's part of the process. See, part of the process is we're going to make mistakes. It's a question of, are you now, making the same mistakes over and over again? It's like the alcoholic that, is clean and sober for 6 months and then, falls off the wagon. But if he or she gets back off the alcohol, back into meetings and working on themselves, a 12-step program, that's okay. This is all part of the process. Because to break these patterns, like in case you talked about smoking, there's a chemical dependency. That nicotine is very powerful. There's the ritual, right? So these are behaviors that have been established for a long time that we have to break. And in order to form like a new habit, a new behavior, whatever, these take time. They don't happen in 3 weeks. They don't happen in a few months. These could take, 6 months. They could take a year. So you have to be really patient. And you got to come from empathy, meaning that people around you have to give it, but they're not enabling you. There's a big difference. See, so when people are working to help you, as support, they're coming from empathy, being the example. That's an interdependent behavior, right? So if you do fall off, they're not going to literally pick you up. They're going to encourage you to pick yourself up. Whereas if you go into please mode, I'll take your pain away. I'll make sure that I follow you around and you don't pick up a cigarette. Then you're in please mode, and then when you get into please mode, that's a codependent behavior. And that, in case you think you're really helping someone, but you're actually not. You're enabling them to continue the behavior and prolonging the process. So the thing is again that this is a process. It takes time. And just like with anything, you're going to make mistakes. We just have to learn and grow and just get right back on, because yesterday's gone. Tomorrow is not here. You have just today. This is where the magic happens. What you put into today, and let go of what you can't control, what will come tomorrow or whenever. That's where the magic happens. This is where
gorgeous.
They became very successful in their businesses. They became multimillionaires. They've kicked a bad habit. They've lost 40 or 50 pounds. They feel have more energy than they've had it ever in their lives. Whatever that goal is. And one thing that I should say, Vickie, with the goals is when you're in the solution with clarity, you don't want to have vague goals. So when you have a vague goal, you're going to get vague results. But if you can break down those goals and make them more clear, very specific. The universe is just like anything. It's a communication channel. What you put out there is exactly what you're going to get back. So if you're saying, I want to make $1 million, and yet your head is telling you something different, I can't do it. Well, then you just told the universe you can't do it, or you just want to make $1 million, but you really don't want to make $1 million. So you got to be very specific. And what is it going to take to make that type of money? You're going to have to do this, this, and this. What kind of value? So it's not that you have to be a Six Sigma practitioner and break everything down to the minute level, but you got to break it down very clear. So this way that the universe knows that these are your intentions. This is your side of what you're committed to do the work. And now let us take care of the rest. Does that mean that you're going to get everything that 100% that you desire? Well, not every time, but you will always get what you need within that.
Yes.
So, and that's where gratitude comes in, because sometimes we end up receiving something better than we actually intended.
Oh, yes. I love those days. I love those days. The reason I said that is because I think that you just said the answer to everything. Most people don't see thinking as smoking, but thinking is addictive. It's an addiction that you have. The habits of how you think are an addiction, just like smoking.
Absolutely.
And so what happens is it's a process of becoming a non-smoker. And so what happens in the process, like for me, I remember thinking to myself after about 200 times and beating myself up for not being able to quit, I removed some of the things that triggered my smoking. Like I removed a coffee, because every time I had a sip of coffee, the cigarette wanted to come with it. There are things that he said to be aware of, that in that process that you can maneuver. These kinds of triggers, any kinds of triggers that you can maneuver out of the way, you have to be aware of. Triggers can be unhealthy, toxic relationships. Triggers can be unhealthy, toxic beliefs. All of these things, it's just like quitting smoking. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. And when you give that thing your time, the thing that most people is, I want to change my thinking now. I want to change right now. That doesn't happen. And remember, it's like this thing sprouts, it grows, it's a seed, it's creating new neural pathways. It's not just something that happens. And the reason I ask that question is because I want to have you speak to people and say your inner critic is going to be there. You have to be aware of it. This is a thing that you have to be in the moment for every single day. He said the change happens in the moment. And I realized when you said that, you have these goals, you have these things, and everybody wants instant gratification. And transformation in this way is not instant gratification. It is complete and utter transformation, not gratification. Chris, I want to go into how to keep yourself aware of the changes that could happen to you, because you're going to change the company you keep, what you do for a living, and all of these things transform. And what about those? What do you say to those people who have families or relatives that are going to try to talk you back into your inner critic? What do we do with that?
It's very common. I'm coaching a few people where they're dealing with that. They're married to someone, and they wanted them to get better, but yet now it's now putting the spotlight on their own limited beliefs. So this is where they feel comfortable getting them back to their own limited beliefs again. This is very common. This is again, why that's codependent behavior. So in order to do this, especially with family, it's not that you're alienating your family, but this is where through interdependency, that when we're coming from empathy and kindness, we're empowering people through our example. And when they feel like they're overstepping their boundaries to kind of like draw you back to the other side of codependency, empathy and kindness knows to establish a boundary, meaning that if that means you have to remove yourself from a room, just say, hey, maybe we'll pick up this conversation tomorrow. I'm going to go to bed, or I got to do some work. I'm going to go play with the kids. It's knowing to have boundaries. Usually with codependency, people don't have boundaries. So they welcome that dysfunction and that chaos back into their lives. Again, it's not that those people who supposedly love you, and they do love you, are doing this intentionally to bring you down. It's because they're in their own space with limited beliefs, and this is making them feel uncomfortable. And this is a way to kind of make them feel comfortable again. Codependency, always know, even when they feel like they're doing something for you, it's really about them first, because they have to satisfy something inside for that. That, like with myself, was the need for validation. If I just please this person enough, they'll really respect me. They'll love me. They'll admire my abilities, whatever the case may be. So it's knowing when to establish boundaries, and always know you can never give what you don't have. So when you think that you're sacrificing your life for someone, and you're neglecting your well-being, you're neglecting your own goals and your own dreams, you're really not serving someone. You're better serving someone, empowering them by example to do for themselves. But yet you can still help them and come together interdependently. It's not like if you have an elderly mom and she can't get out of the wheelchair, you're going to come on, mom, you can do it. You're not doing that. You're supposed to help her. You're not going to be like, oh, mom, you can't pick up that glass and drink the water. Of course you can do that. You're not going to do it. You want to empower to take responsibility for their roles and duties to the best of their abilities. That's what, again, operating the solution does. You are being the example. And you can do that as a parent. You can do that as a boss or a leader, a respected member in your community. That is the greatest gift that you can give anyone, is being the example through
yes,
communication, positive behavior, in this case, interdependent behavior. That is the key. So it's not what you do for people, it's how you empower them through example to do for themselves.
beautiful. This is such an important conversation, this piece of it right there, because you said something earlier about, pleasing people and letting go of your attachment of the goodies you think you're getting to please people. You have an attachment to other people's approval. If you could just simply pull that attachment back and just say, okay, people pleasing isn't the way to success. It's not. Done. Full stop. It's yes. And caring about what other people think, we'll pull that attachment off, because caring about what other people think, that triggers that inner critic a lot. I just want to go over here right quick because I like this. In Chris's book, he says there are 7 steps to mastering your inner critic. Step 1, resolve the root cause. Step 2, embrace change. Step 3, stepping into your fear. Step 4, know your why to success. Yes, that's a big one. Step 5, setting goals to live your life on your terms. Step 6, invest in you. And step 7, being accountable. I want to talk about 6 in a minute, and I want to talk about 7 right now, being accountable. It's not just that I am accountable. I allow certain people to hold me accountable, people that are on the path, people that are coaches and mentors, and those friends that are so close to you that know they're doing the same work. They can hold you accountable so you can be there. I want to talk about investing in you. And not only that, I want you to share how they can get involved with you, because if you're looking to make that change from an inner critic to an inner champion, this is the guy. Why would you go anywhere else? This is the guy that wrote the book on it. So let's talk about investing in yourself when you're making this transition from inner critic to inner champion.
Absolutely. Think of yourself as like, when you put, synthetic oil in your car, you make your home very beautiful. So when people come, it's like, it's well maintained. But, why do so few people do that for themselves? They put more attention into material things. But again, material things are just a byproduct, again, of the things you desire from what you put into the process. If you invest in you and you keep nurturing that consistently on a daily basis, all these things that you desire, they'll all be the byproduct of the fruits of your efforts and labor. Yeah. So investing in you is an ongoing thing. Does that mean that you're always spending money on coaches and mentors? No. It's also, reading consistently. It's meditation and journaling, doing things that invest in your growth each and every day. When it comes to mentoring and coaching, it's again aligning with someone that has walked in your shoes. They can relate to you. See, if somebody can't relate to you or understand you, how can they possibly help you? You can't.
Yes.
We're never going. This is what I teach in my trusted advisor programs when I teach businesses and individuals how to become trusted advisors, why they do what they do. You're never going to be everything for everyone. And when you can really get that in your head and know that you're always going to be something for someone, a group of people or maybe a niche in your industry where people align on those values, then you're going to be that asset or that source that's going to empower them to really have a great experience, to solve their own problems. And what are they going to do? They're going to refer you. So investing in yourself is an ongoing thing. It is so important. And oftentimes people don't do enough in that area. And always know that when you are investing on the outside, what's more important is taking that and how that applies to you to bring it inside, to do the inside work from within to make it work for you. So that's the thing. So it's a combination, but it's an ongoing thing. It's not like you do it once in a while. You got to find a pattern of always investing in yourself, because we're always growing. We're all teachers and students simultaneously. We're always learning. We're always growing. And, until the day we leave this planet, that's how it's what it'll be. Whether if you're going to be in control of the ship or not, that's how it is. So, might as well grab the wheel and take control and let go of what you can.
Do you know, I have to tell you, when you said what you just said, my heart went up in my throat. Because the thing that I have found about allowing my inner critic to die and, really be able to pay attention to it is the amount of freedom that is provided in your life. There is something where you feel so contained or controlled or small by that little voice, by that inner critic. And as you release that inner critic and you develop into the champion, it's that there's so much more freedom that happens. And there's so much more alignment with your life and who you are and the purpose that's within you and these things. And the curiosity, if you could just have some basic curiosity and say, I wonder who I am. Who are you outside of the stories you tell yourself and that inner critic? Because that's where most people live. And the road to freedom, the first step to freedom is addressing that inner critic. That's how important it is. If you buy his books, that 7 steps to walk you through there, that's the thing that this is a journey. You take this your whole life. You just keep doing this. How do they get involved with you, though? That's what I want to know.
Well, Vickie, first of all, I want to thank you for having me here and sharing on this topic that's so important to really build your success foundation. If anything is going to be sustainable in your life and business, you have to have a rock solid foundation. You want to be operating from the solution, not the problem. You have a choice to manage the problem if you choose. But the best way for people to reach me, you can reach me anywhere, on LinkedIn or Facebook, obviously. But go to my website, www.christophersalem, it's my full name.com, /contact if you want to go there. I'd love to have a conversation. There's no obligation whatsoever. I'm all about seeing, I want to learn about you, get to know what you're up to, what your dreams, your aspirations, your objectives are. If I can point you in the right direction, give you a couple nuggets, hey, that's all it is. That's, so there's no obligation. And I just want to get to know people and see if we can connect on similar values.
This is the beauty of it. And I want to tell you that nobody wins without getting help or support. And at every season, whether it's a book I've written, and you guys know how many books I've written, or a business, the first thing I put into place is my support team. Who am I going to call? That's my coach on this. Who am I going to work with that's going to keep my head straight? I know that value of success. The first step into success is stepping in and changing and altering from that inner critic to that inner champion. Don't you want to meet that part of yourself? I know I did. And it's made all the difference. Chris, I can't even believe it's been an hour. I want to let you, my heart is in my throat. I'm really, I feel very tender right now because of the value you've given people. I mean, talk about the keys to the kingdom. He shared that with us and his whole book. Go out, get the book, read it, go to his website, get in his contact / it's chrissalem.com /contact.
Chrissalem.com. Yeah. Yep.
/contact. Just go there and have that conversation. See if it's right for you. If you want to make a difference in the world, you have to make a difference in your world first. Chris Salem, thank you for being on the show today. I am absolutely blown away. What an awesome birthday present. Thank you.
Well, you gave me your show is so well run. I mean, it was so natural and free flowing. I do a lot of shows and I can just say that you're a wonderful host. And
thank you.
I can see why this show is so successful and more success coming your way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, you guys, that's the show. I know tomorrow we're going to be talking about him on the Thursday show. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my birthday. Mwah! I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.